Hello and good morning. This is just something I've decided to do called morning mantras. And, because mantra is spelled M-A-N, I'm just playing around with the words. Um, Mantra man. This is me coming forward and just kind of talking about my day and what's been on my mind and what's important. And really, this is a big practice for me just to get better at being more authentic and make myself more available. Yesterday, I got myself really stuck in a pickle and I got really overwhelmed. In that I was working on a website and I've been trying to get this website going for quite a while. And I think the biggest thing was I got really stuck inside my own head and coming up with copy and kind of creative and kind of creative creating and kind of not really lost my way and kind of sunk down into a pretty deep depression yesterday. And what I wanted to do when I feel most alive is when I am creating something and I'm just here on the mic and I can just talk. There was this show I really enjoyed, and perhaps you 80s kids out there could probably remember Pump Up the Volume with Christian Slater. And I thought that was just always so meaningful for me to see. I thought it was the coolest that he had his own radio show inside of his house, inside of his room, and he had this alter ego where he was Happy Harry Hardon, and he talked about real topics. And I think this is my attempt at that, and just trying to speak and come up with some ideas and at least make myself available to where if you have a question anything concerning wellness, midlife, metabolism, everything I talk about on the show, let's bring it forward. Um, so these are just a few things that I was just thinking on. I just want to riff on. And again, just trying to get good at just speaking from the heart and being more authentic. As this feeling of insignificance, have you ever felt that before? Not like what you do doesn't matter. I know I felt that hardcore yesterday. I needed to go for quite a long walk to get myself out of it, but that's a story for another time. But this feeling of insignificance really came on for me when I was stuck in, we're really in my midlife. And what intrigues me about midlife is that as men, we have a goal. A lot of us have goals in working through high school. Maybe it's sports, perhaps it's getting the girl, making your mark in some way. And then it kind of rolls into college, as it did for me, to where you're having fun. You're still, you're trying to get girls, so you're going to make connections. School's kind of the last thing in your mind. At least it was for me when I was playing college sports. I played college football, and at least I had something to work towards. Being in practice each and every day and lifting weights, we were striving towards something. And then when you graduate, you are just looking at finding your mate, getting that career, getting the house, and like there's these check boxes. But the issue is that once you hit like middle ages like me, is when I was really going through a downturn, is everything gets very hazy and don't really understand what the next thing is. Is it retirement? I mean, we had we had these structured milestones beginning in life. Make it through school. There's all these different grades, and everything is very structured. Going into college, kind of that same thing is very structured. And even getting out of college, it's structured in a way of job, career, house, maybe a relocation. Um, Finding your mate, getting married, having the kids, getting sunk into the career. And then it all turned, what's next is like retirement. You're at 35, 40 years old, and the retirement's like at 65. The thing is that we started creating an identity out of our career, and it becomes Groundhog Day over and over again. And we're just so starved for some kind of meaning. Like, what is this all really working towards? And with no meaning your health and your well-being starts to dwindle. How your feelings of happiness, your self-worth, self-esteem, when those dwindle, then the physical side, the health, begins to fall apart. You're gaining weight. You don't know the reasons why you need to go to the gym anymore. And this was me in my 30s. Me in my 30s, I didn't do a I don't think I even lifted weights in my 30s. I did hardcore all throughout my teenage years and into my 20s, not a problem. But when my 30s hit, I was just done with that. I was traveling the world. I was raising kids. Early 30s, I was homeless, but there was that. But it really wasn't important. It wasn't so important that I lifted weights. But the thing is that my well-being was low. My self-doubt was high, and my insignificance was high, and my self-esteem was very low. And with someone having very low self-esteem, you can get yourself caught in substances like I did. Drugs, alcohol, sex, all these things that help make me feel different. It's just less miserable. There's no meaning behind that other than just to numb yourself. So it's like this invisibility kicks in around midlife, and we feel kind of that insignificance. And that's why it's important to find that meaning. And what I do as a coach is, I think the biggest thing is getting your health in order, because that's when you start to feel wealthy and appreciative about your life. So getting your health in order is probably the first and foremost thing that we can do in order to invest in our future. So when we do make it to retirement age, we can go out for a hike. We can get down on the floor with our grandkids. You don't feel bad about yourself about going to the swimming pool and taking your shirt off. I mean, these are things that kept me from going out. Like for the longest time, I didn't want to go near pools because I would have to take my shirt off. Or if he didn't, he would look silly. But going back to the insignificance is really interesting when you're a creator and getting on YouTube. Like I'm on YouTube a lot. You can feel insignificant because there's just so much competition out there. Then I start comparing myself with other people and where I should be. And it's like this weird ache that my voice isn't received yet. And again, when you're starting out, not a lot of people are liking your stuff. I got nobody watching right now. That's to be expected. No bitterness. But there has to be a deeper meaning to why I'm doing this. And this is why I'm here just getting on the mic and talking and practicing. So it can be very defeating when it feels like that you're speaking into the void. This might be the same thing when you're trying to speak to your teenage daughter or your teenage son, when you're speaking into the void. I think the thing is that we keep trying so we can remind ourselves that we are doing all we can and doing our best. It's important to involve yourself in a practice. And this is what this is for me, is I'm involving myself in a practice of creation, a practice of talking, not saying and like so many times, learning to polish myself and work a craft and getting comfortable with the silences. Whew, that was tough. Getting on this mic, it gets weird because when you get on it, you think, okay, I need to continue talking and giving and providing value for people. And that's what I hope to do. That's what I'm really trying to do. So in this weird way, I'm helping myself in order to find out what helps you. And that's when I feel my purpose. That's when I feel like, some worth. That's when I feel significant, when I'm contributing. So maybe that's something that you can think about. Like, how does contribution in some form help you feel more significant? In what ways do you contribute? And how are you going to contribute today? In any way. You get to open the door for somebody. You get to throw some change at the guy playing the guitar on the side of the road. You get to help an old lady across the street. You get to tie your kid's shoes. It's important that you think about those things and how you make a significant difference in the impact of other people and impacting other people. So, Overwhelm, the big thing for me, and again, I talked about like getting on YouTube. Oh, it's so much. It can be so much. And lately I've been really feeling that. Man, it's a grind. And you know it's crazy about YouTube, and you may not know this, and I'm just gonna let you know, is that when they tell you that you should be creating on YouTube, that I used to think that you would just make a video, then title it, and then pick a thumbnail, and then upload it. Well, we've been doing that all backwards, and a lot of people teach you, like at Think Media, I took a class from them, some classes from them, Sean Cannell and those guys. They're really good, but they tell you that, did you know that to be successful at YouTube, that you need to actually research a title first of what could actually be like popular within your niche. So you would need to know your niche, like who you're actually speaking to. And then you can get like this vidIQ software, and it kind of ranks how the title is, and you got to look for keywords, and so you can make your video searchable. And again, this all makes sense, but I'm just saying this with this half-ass grin right here because how ridiculous it is and how it destroys the creative process in a way. The not just the creative process more than the just being intuitive, and I think there's a word for it. Spontaneous. Yeah, it destroys spontaneity because you got to pick this title, and then you pick a thumbnail to match the title that'll help people click on the video. Then you press record and create the video and have it match the title. Isn't that screwed? So, Christ, I don't want to do that right now, and I'm not saying I'm never going to do it again, but I'm at least doing this. I don't care if one person sees it right now. Again, this is for me, and if this is providing some value for you, that's my hope. But I want to get away from that shit because it completely killed my creativity, and it completely disconnected me from any organic desire to communicate. And I want to breathe. I want to relax. I want to release tension. I want to create from a place of ease and relaxation. Just like I want to create meaningful conversations with people from ease and relaxation. When I want to come up with ideas, get into my rational brain with ease and release tension. It's when we get into this need to be perfect because we compare ourselves with other people, that it really robs us of our joy and the reasons why we play. This is what this is about, man. Playing. We're being so goddamn serious all the time. And I mean, we only are here for a short amount of time. And midlife reminds you of that. It's like the clock is ticking. It's important to have fun in what you're doing. And if you're in a job that you hate doing, it's your life to live, to work your way on getting out of that. That's why I employed the help of a coach to help put together a plan for me to make my exit. I'm going full entrepreneur now. And yeah, it can be scary. And that's where the overwhelm comes. Like, what do I do? How do I get my message out that I coach, and I coach midlife men to increase their metabolism and have a healthy life so they can get ready for the second half, to start planning the milestones. It's like mile markers along the way, because say you're 40 years old, there's still a ton of life to live, maybe 60 years. So it's important to remain like steadfast on these little mini milestones to get those mini wins that continue to pull us forward. And that's what I got to continue to do too. It's not like I've arrived and that like, oh shit, I got my shit together. I don't, but I continually work on it every day. It's what makes me a professional. getting out of my head and into my body. And right now, I'm connecting back with my creativity. That's when I feel most alive, when I feel like I have some meaning, and talking with my hands right now to really bring the point home. So, the creating helps really break through the fog for me. It gives me some kind of direction. I don't know what will come from this. Um, Perhaps nothing, perhaps everything. I don't know. But the more I'm here speaking, the better I feel about myself, that I'm actually doing something that's important to me. And what is that for you? What are you doing today that's going to be important for you? And it doesn't have to be this big, giant, perfect, very big thing. It can be something very small. It could be washing, it could be cleaning out your car. When's the last time you cleaned out your car? Man, it's been a while for me. So anyway, creation, overwhelm. Yeah. So again, I can't really, what was causing me overwhelm is SEO, headlines, funnels. I've been doing a lot of that type of stuff and trying to be perfect and trying to get it right. And it can be real defeating. Oh, I'm just not that way. But have any of you created a website out there? Like, or a funnel? How did that go for you? Does it make you feel alive? Perhaps it does. Maybe I can pull in some inspiration from you. Let's see, is anyone commenting? No, no one comments. And just know, hey, for a couple of you that are here, feel free to add any questions you have. Throw them in the chat. We can speak on them. That's what this is for. I want to open myself and at least make myself available to answer some questions and get myself involved. I'm not doing this just to show how much I know. I'm doing this just to make myself available, trying to communicate and living my life with a purpose. And that's what this is. So, metabolism. I often talk about metabolism. What is metabolism? We often think that, okay, metabolism is taking energy from food and oxygen and making that and creating, your body going through a chemical process that introduces ADP to the body and generates, power to the cell and moves us through our day. Okay. Metabolism is so much more than that, I feel. And my understanding is just gathering energy from your environment. Relationships that give you energy. Think about it. There's people that give you energy in your life, and there's people that definitely zap it. Is it the in-laws that zap your energy, or does your family energize you? And what is it about family anyway? About those, sometimes family can make us feel very small and like we don't have anything to offer. And perhaps sometimes that's very inviting to where you've learned something outside of the family and you bring it to the family and you feel like sharing, and maybe that's accepted. Maybe that gives you energy. So, music, how does music do? What does that music do for your energy? There's a band I love called Hybrid. It's a electronic music, and they mix classical music along with that and instrumentals. They're big on making cinematic music for movies, and it's very uplifting. For me, it's very motivating. I love listening to it when I lift. I guess gather up so much energy and drive from this music. That gives me energy. I really feel that is a form of your metabolism. So, and that is all in your artistic and creative endeavors. Painting, creating, this all feeds us and empowers us in moving forward towards the life that we want to live. So I really feel that creating is a form of metabolism that we can tap into to pull us out of the depression, to pull us out of that feeling of insignificance, and we make some kind of sense of these subconscious thoughts that roll through our head that we adhere to and that we're programmed to move through life, acting out. So when we do art, when we do a creative endeavor, it's really acknowledging the true us, the subconscious thoughts, bringing those up to the surface, and then consciously sharing those things. It's an excellent practice in resilience of stretching yourself from subconscious to conscious and then sharing that. And that resilience builds mental strength. You're living out a purpose and a meaning. We're trying to figure all of this stuff out, all of us together. What's this whole thing about life about? Is it to just go to the 9 to 5 and raise your kids? Again, when we hit the midlife, the kids are out of the equation. A lot of times they've grown up, and now the parents that have really identified with being a parent don't know their identity any longer. And then they try to make it to retirement. And then when they retire, a lot of times it's a scary statistics of people that die like immediately after retiring because they retire from their title. They've identified with their career so much so when their career goes, they go, that's not what I want. And I know that's not what you want. So what is it that you want to create for yourself moving forward? And creativity, again, is a huge part of your metabolism because you could create a health plan. You can create activities. You can create a whole new life outside of where you live. You can live abroad. You can get a passport and you can go and travel. You can try different foods in different countries. I'm trying to say we need to get out and travel more. And why not live in another state? Why not live in another town? Change it up. Uh, what would you, I think what for me was when I lived overseas is I was so curious on how I would come through a different environment, what it was like to live in Japan. When I lived in Tokyo a couple of years, completely changed my perspective of how big the world is. Um, I really began to understand in Japan when riding the train. Again, it's weird. I didn't know there was going to be English or think there was going to be English words anywhere, but I didn't really realize that all there is a lot of kanji, is just symbols. So riding the train, I needed to figure out where the hell I was at in order to know where I wanted to go. And that taught me the bigger lesson. I had to really pay attention to, and I had to draw the kanji of what my home station looked like at Zama. I had to draw that in order to even know what direction I needed to head. So what other town I wanted to go to had an entirely different symbol. So then I would have to write everything in symbols to actually get to the right spots. It was very humbling. It was an adventure, but it helped me pay attention. It got me out of sleepwalking through my life. And that's what travel really does. It's not necessarily pleasant. It's amazing that in that you come out of the experience with all these memories and with more wisdom and having survived travel. There's moments when you're traveling like, oh, I'm relaxed. But by and large, your butthole's puckered. You, especially if you have a family you're traveling along with, it could be very activating. Your sympathetic nervous system could be going through the roof. Um, but Japan wasn't very threatening. It was very kind. People were they were willing to help you. I had people that would help me. They would ride along with me 5 or 6 stops beyond their stop on the train just to ensure I got to where I needed to go. And that was very honorable. Bowing is a big thing in Japan. And I wish we'd bow more here in this culture. It shows its ultimate respect, appreciation. Instead of the handshakes all the time, just a bow. I don't know, there's something more honorable to that. So in creating another life overseas, that gave me energy. It's giving me energy now because it's giving me perspective. So creating doesn't mean just painting. It can mean creating a different life for yourself. If that's what you want, you don't have to be stuck. You don't have to be stuck. We can work on getting unstuck. And I'll show you how. So I just put this in here. Midlife and metabolism and meeting. That's what my channel is about. It's again creating energy out of more than just the food. My health really shifted when my self-image changed. How the image I held inside of my head, how when that began to change, and I got very specific on what I wanted to look like, on what I wanted to feel like, that's when the changes really started happening. Dieting became not even like dieting. It became easier because the choices I made started to match that internal thought of myself. So I want to speak to men in midlife because I'm a man in midlife and I'm figuring it out for myself. And I just have always felt drawn to work with men, mentor young men. If you have questions on health and well-being, put them in the chat. let me know. If you want to book a call with me, I'm going to have links to all the calls. It's a free call. I would want to know, and then this is something I'm going to be posting on Facebook a bit later, is I'm going to be offering my services in just a free session to coaching session for you, because I want to know what health means to you, and I want to be able to use your language, and that's the give and take. I'm going to give you free coaching, and in turn you're going to give me your language, how you describe where you're at with your health. What are the painful points for you when you think of health, and where you want to be and where you want to go? What's keeping you stuck? I can ask ChatGPT all day, but the ChatGPT is not a human being. It's just really not. I got to remind myself that. So, again, midlife can be very foggy and unsure about what the next steps are, because we've never defined what the next steps are. Working with a coach, we define what the next steps are, what the milestones are, what the big picture is beyond just retirement. Or maybe we redefine what your retirement looks like. Maybe it's a more active retirement. Maybe you get into a different career where you're giving your talents away. I know people that have gone to India and work in an ashram and serve food to people, and that's what puts a smile on their face. And let me tell you something, when it comes to like your meaning, how important it is. I often thought growing up as a fat person, a lot of times, for most of my life, and just loathing myself, I told myself for so many years that if this fat just came off of my body, I would be great. I would be perfect. Everything would be right in the world. Let me tell you, I'm now in the best shape I've ever been in, and I still will have those moments where I feel like complete shit, insignificant, worthless, depressed, you name it. It's interesting. So no amount of external change can really completely get rid of that feeling from time to time. That's something I want to be able to absorb and learn from. And I really feel creation is a way for me to find that meaning. The meaning is what is going to keep me from jumping off a bridge. So, and there's this wonderful book by Rollo May, Man's Search for Himself. Let me get it. It's one of my favorite books. Rollo May was a existential psychologist talking about the importance of and meaning in life. And this book was written in the 50s, but there's so many apropos statements that are still true today of what's happening in the world, especially with men. How to receive love and how to communicate what your heart's desire is, and a lot of these things. But what's interesting, he talks about loneliness in here, and we're in a loneliness epidemic right now, and it doesn't seem like social media is helping with that. It is and it isn't. But especially when it comes to a man, the importance of having a purpose, a meaning, something like he's contributing. And when we lose that as men, that's when it gets dangerous. That's when suicidal ideation comes in. And this is why you're looking at statistics where men are 4 times more likely to commit suicide than women. That's an issue. What does that really stem? What does that come back to? It's not necessarily because you're fat or out of shape or that you're feeling weak. It's that feeling of making a difference, and that you're contributing to something greater than yourself. We're losing contact with that because we live in this mechanical world. We're bound by the clock, and so there's not much room for beauty. There's not much room for just an analog understanding of art. When I say that, it's like it's not supposed to be precise. We're not supposed to be as precise as we're trying to strive to be. You can for a while, but it's important to find a flow. And that's what this is, just trying to find a flow. I'd love to talk about flow state a little bit later. It's that feeling of being in the zone. Something we can tap into more often in order to really break through fog. to break through the feelings of being unsure. That's again what creativity really helps with, is helping you find a flow, to where things become effortless. Not easy, not too hard, not too easy, just effortless moving forward. So um, there's this note here. What was that? Power really feels like. Huh. Yeah. Hmm. There's this note here that says creativity is movement, where you don't have to wait to feel better to create. You create to feel better. I like that. It's being proactive and creating instead of just thinking, okay, now I can create. You just got to jump in and swim. We might be unsure of the outcome, just like in midlife, we're unsure when we're going to die, but we still must live each day and get the most of each day. Doing the best you can, eating clean, loving clean, yeah, staying clean, self-care practices. This is what my saying is, like making your life art. I think is just making your life, being as excellent as you can in each moment, just by your attuned awareness. That's what art really is you really paying attention of how you can be excellent in the moment. Okay. So depression, I talked about this. Yeah. Uh, hmm. Yeah. Depression moving through the body. Now, there are different schools of thought on this. We think that depression is a bad thing. The thing is that it can be something that we can grow from. It can be feedback that we're getting in order to make a change. And I think that's what I want to look at it as. The depression I felt yesterday is leading to this here now, to where I'm just talking with no expectations, not trying to be perfect. I'm not even trying to really teach anything, just here. But it's to, the issue is not to, the thing is that we can get caught in the depression because a depression is a whole, right? And just getting a message from my man Travis. Yeah. Anyway, the old friend of mine back from high school is just talking to me about how he's been journaling and how that's been helping him. So good on you, brother. A depression as a whole that sometimes we need to pull ourselves out of. It's a test to pull ourselves out of it. But if we're not aware, we can definitely fall into that hole even more. And there's this quote that my friend, my brother DC, who's going through a very kind of a dark time. He's going through a knee surgery, and there's an infection in his knee, and they have to reoperate, and it's getting very scary. And and I love this guy. I've known him most of my entire life, and he's going through a tough time, and he's figuring it out. But we text back and forth often, and he sent me this quote I think is apropos to share right now. It's one of those things that you get from the universe, and at just the right time. He wrote that his road to recovery is going to be about 6 weeks after the surgery, on top of the weeks he's already had previously in getting his knee done. But he wrote, "Whoever fights with monsters should not see to it that he does not become a monster in the process. And if you gaze long into the abyss gazes also into you." And he wrote, that's a little Nietzsche, for me. So, and then he wrote just for himself, he says, always like his take on confronting negativity and the need for self-awareness in order to not become what you're fighting. And so when we're staring into that abyss, it can be easy to just keep falling. When our head is down looking at the abyss, that kind of tends to pull us down deeper. And we need to be self-aware of that's what it's actually doing. It can pull us down because we go where our eyes show. It seems like a lot of times. So when you're feeling that depression, having that self-awareness to know that we could pull ourselves out of that. You must pull yourselves out of that unless you want to live in the abyss where there's all kinds of substances to keep you down in it. I lived in the abyss a long time, in that world of pleasure, to avoid the pain. Must feel the pain. Must be aware of what the depression is and what it's teaching us. The depression is a teacher. In that way, we can be thankful for it, to have these moments. The issue is not getting stuck in that depression. And that's so hard. Have you had feelings of depression? Are you going through that currently? I'd love to talk to you about it. If you want to share, I'm going to check the comments one more time. No comments, okay? But eventually, there'll be a comment, and I'll comment on that comment. So come on and comment. So what helped me out of my funk, what helped, didn't cure it, helped it. It's like my friend Jeremiah, my good friend Jeremiah, what we talked about, he got on his bike and he just started pedaling to help pull him out of years of trauma and dealing with heartache and the loss of his partners. And the only thing that kept him going is to just pedal his bike. The only thing he had to do in a day is just pedal his bike. He just finished 1,062 miles on a custom-made bike that he built, camping along the way, going through the Idaho wilderness, stretching all the way from Wyoming and all the way into Oregon and then back for 1,062 miles. And the therapy and the medicine for him is that he just pedaled, and that's all he had to do. It's to drive himself into the dirt, to get so tired to where there's no room for anger, resentment, self-doubt, pity, worry, anxiety, all of those things. You just exhausting yourself to the point to where it makes you present, completely present to your breath. The intake and the out, the taking in of life and the release. So we take things in that creates a tension. We must release to get more, but in that release, we're lowering and we're letting out the tension. When we laugh, what are we doing? We're releasing tension. Those are big exhales. Ha, ha, ha. Exhaling out. Releasing tension. When we hold our breath in, creating tension. When we get pissed, when we get triggered, tension. Muscles tighten. We prepare to fight or flee. And this constant tension we feel in our day-to-day lives of trying to become something we may not be, trying to be a perfect parent when all the shit's flying all over the place and your kids are telling you to go to hell sometimes. Whatever it is that's not going right, that's going to cause a tension inside of your body. So getting back to a daily practice of moving your body, not only is that just exercise for your body and you're going to feel better, it's a way to release tension. And when you're releasing tension, you can do that daily. You're going to live longer. You're going to live stronger. And you're going to live with more purpose and more meaning. And because when we're relaxed and our nervous system is relaxed, we can't stay angry. It's impossible to remain angry or frustrated in a completely relaxed body. Another interesting thing about being relaxed and releasing tension is that your brain works differently. So instead of being in that primal part of your brain or the thalamus where you're just reacting to your environment, you're in the hypothalamus to where you're in your more creative state, you're in your less reactionary and you're more responsive, you're more rational, you can think. And so that's the best way to get into that part of your brain is through the breath. So we teach in yoga is inhaling, holding, and exhaling. Releasing the tension. So you're feeling the tension, breathing in, holding to really anchor to that tension, and then the release of the tension with a long exhale. It's this back and this forth, this taking in, and then there must be a release. And that's what we need to learn when we're out there in the world too, when we connect with like taking in this first half of life, when we need to take in the house, we take in the kids, we take in the career. We take in the bikes, we take in the Mercedes, whatever it is, whatever you're buying. And we have all these external things we're taking in, taking in, taking in, taking in. And then the point comes to where you're like, I have so much shit, I need to get rid of it. You need to release it. And when you release, you feel like, and even you cleaned your closet and you feel amazing afterwards. You donating all your clothes or shit you don't need inside your garage and you create space for yourself. That's exactly what I'm talking about. That's when you can get into a state of just feeling a release of tension. With more shit that you bring into your life, that creates a tension. That's the boat that you buy, thinking that this is going to help you relax. But if it just sits out outside of your house, it becomes a liability. And then that just is like a weight that hangs on you and it creates more tension if you're not out on that boat. And that's just a boat. So creating space in your life, getting rid of junk in your life, getting rid of junk friends in your life or junk people in your life, that's important too. You know, not all people are junk, of course. I'm not trying to say that, but maybe what's not fulfilling you. You know, there might be people in your life that might be zapping your energy and ruining your metabolism. Fine, you're allowed to cut that off and let that person find their other people, and you can find a person that suits you and your changes that you want to make. Like really upgrade your company. You're allowed to do that. And again, a great way to kind of, if you're feeling depression, maybe it's something that you need to do in order to feel, what's the opposite of depression? Perhaps joy, being exalted. What is it for you? What's for you? What's the opposite of depression? So what I do as a coach, I love what I do. I really do. It's this constant quest to figure shit out, to figure life out. Life's one big giant puzzle. And working with people alongside myself to figure stuff out is what really gives me drive. It gives me energy, and it's fun. It's fun witnessing a change in another man. It's to go from a place where you're feeling the going from a place of can't to significant, having no meaning to being filled with meaning and purpose. This is what coaching did for me. It took me to seek it took me seeking this career in order to really work on myself, what I want to be doing. When people ask me what I do, and I like to bring up this analogy or metaphor, it's often growing up in Idaho in the wintertime, we would, around Christmas, we would get these inner tubes, and they're like very fast tubes that you put on the water typically, but we would use them for snow, and we would go to this mountain behind us at Freeman Creek, and would load up these new tubes that we got for Christmas and right in the back of the truck and through the mountains, through the Idaho wilderness, and there's snow all over the place. And it was really fun. It was to get out there to our favorite sledding hill, and it's way tucked into the wilderness. The snow is very deep. You need chains to get in there in a 4-wheel drive. We would meet up with friends there. They would bring hot chocolate, and a lot of times the adults would bring the schnapps and whatever, liquor they had on hand, because it's around Christmas time. You're drinking. We'd make a fire. Everyone is around, and we're all tubing. The other kids or other friends would be tubing, and there's sagebrush all over the place. So inevitably, you're running your inner tube out of the designated hill into sagebrush, rip apart your tube, and get a concussion. But that was all in the fun. So we'd be playing all day, and then getting into the trucks, we would ensure everyone left before us because we want to make sure people got out. And a lot of times trucks would get high centered on a snowdrift and then inevitably get stuck. And the drift of the snow picks the tire up off the ground, and no matter how hard you step on that accelerator, the tire's not making contact with the ground, and you're just stuck and you're spinning your wheels. Now that image really comes up for me when it comes from men in midlife, to where we are stuck, and you might be spinning your wheels right now, and no amount of trying and effort and stepping on the gas is going to get you moving. because you're not making contact with the ground. Now, if you can keep going like that, might be great, but you're going to run out of gas. Let's just face it. So what I do is I come in here with the stump. I come in here with the wedge. I find the tire where you're spinning and I stump that wedge inside the tire to where you get traction. You start to pull yourself out. Now, not only do I do that, I also hop in shotgun with you to help navigate the rest of the course for you. We plunk in the coordinates on where you want to go, where you at, where you want to go. And then we work together side by side on navigating the terrain. And then maybe perhaps getting on a completely different road. And that's what coaching is for me. It's making up that gap, because there's a gap from where you're at right now and where you want to be. Now, how do you traverse that gap? What's the bridge? Right here. I work as that bridge. I'll connect you from where you're at to where you want to go, to where you get traction, and we can start moving. And when you start to feel that you're moving, you're creating something. Your sense of purpose, your sense of meaning lifts up because you know you're making progress towards where you want to go. And that makes all the difference, right? It's not about figuring it all out ahead of time and then arriving there. It's just having the courage to just take that first step to get yourself unstuck and to start having fun finding your way. And you don't have to do it alone. That's what coaching is about. We do it together. This saves you time. This saves you energy, frustration. It's an investment in your well-being. And wouldn't that be worth it? I mean, aren't you at least curious on where you could be if you had the guidance? And it's customized to you. It's not like I'm telling you what to do or where to go. I'm riding shotgun. You're in charge. But I help navigate the course for you. And that's what I do. Saving you time, saving you energy, saving you frustration, to where you can take all that energy, that stuff that you save, and you can roll that into that second half of your life. You're clear on the guideposts, the goal lines. You're clear on the milestones and what you want to achieve. And we got to create that and move in keeping your life interesting. And that's really what it's about. And it's going to give you meaning. And you have a meaning. You have a purpose. I want to know what it is. What are you working towards? Now let's get curious about it. What are we doing here? You know, every day can seem like Groundhog Day if we're not focused, if we're not aware in what we want. So it's important to get specific, and I'll tell you why it's specific. And this is leading to my health GPS. Now, you can see the link there at the bottom here. spencermark.co/health-GPS. Just like a GPS is important to help you understand where you're at and where you want to go. That's what this is. But this is more of a goal positioning system. This positions you in a way to where your goals become very tangible and very detailed. And when you think of the word goals, it can be very intimidating, like, shit, this is heavy. Goals, man. This is supposed to be fun and interactive. It's a GPT that I built that it just takes in your inputs and it helps create a very detailed path for you. So then why this is important is the more specific it is, the more you can actually feel it happening for you. And then you begin to embody that success. And then it takes you towards where you want to be, and you can arrive at your goals without trying, with less effort, because it's a feeling that it conjures up because you're so specific on what you want to be. And this is what makes past failures very powerful, is because when we are doing something that's out of our comfort zone, these feelings of failure begin to come up, and then we can play it out in our head, right? Have you ever played out a failure out in your head? And it could be very detail oriented because we've felt the failure before. You feel failing very, very deeply because our brains are like Velcro for bad experiences and like Teflon for good experiences. It's what's kept us alive. So in understanding that and having awareness around that, we got to really focus on those successes that we've had to feel into the success, to help us arrive at success, because it's a feeling that matches our thoughts. This health GPS works in that way to where you get very specific on what your ideal is. What does your ideal identity look like, feel like, and doing? What is your metabolism looking like, as far as not just like your food and your exercise? What does your rest look like, your sleep? What about your relationships? What about the music you listen to? What gives you energy in the world? And let's go to that. And then developing a deeper awareness of where you're at, what zaps your energy, what gives you energy. Yeah. making goals that are achievable, that are small, so you can get quick wins, so you can develop a winning feeling. This is all about developing a feeling to where you, and again, it comes to the embodiment as the last piece, but it's so important that you feel the change first and then you arrive at it. So many times I talk to so many men, it's like, I will lose 20 pounds, then I'll ask that girl out. When I lose this weight, that's when I'll ask for the promotion. When I get the girl, that's when I will, propose. I don't know, whatever it is. It's like we want to wait to achieve something in order to do the thing that we want to do in the first place. This helps you embody that result immediately. Okay. So if you continue to wait for your life to be perfect in order to make the change will never happen. And that's what's going to pull that self-doubt into our lives again, and that low self-esteem. Our esteem gets pressured into a lower spot, and we feel that depression, and we get caught in the abyss. So this health GPS, when you go to it, it's a very simple, it's like 10 questions. It's got to be customized to you and your goals. Is this losing weight? Is this getting better energy and more meaning, building muscle? What is it for you? It's going to give you an entire plan on what to do. After that, you're going to book a free call with me, and we're going to discuss your map, find out where you're at and where you want to go. I'm going to learn the language from you. That's what I'm getting out of it. So I'm not here to sell you on coaching, and I'm really not. I'm really here to learn. If coaching is right for you. If it's not, then understandable. But I can at least give you something to where you can move forward in the direction of your choosing, to at least empower you, to know that it's helpful to me to know that I'm giving something of value. I know it is valuable. It'll change your life completely. Yeah. So that felt good. That's all I have today. Maybe I'll hop on tomorrow for some more morning mantras. Thank you for the time. Thank you for being here. And if you have a question, let me know. Visit the Health GPS today. It's a completely free tool. Feel free to leave me a message in Facebook or on YouTube. And I will see you tomorrow. Thank you so much.